Okay, I will get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to our foundational procurement information and training session. We've been doing a lot of work over the past 12 months to get to this point today. And we're quite happy that we're able to move forward and do total implementation as of April 1st. I will stop sharing my video now and I will start sharing my screen so you can see the presentation. Okay, like I said, we do have the foundation procurement information and training session today. Just a few housekeeping items here. This information is being recorded and will be distributed after the event. There is multiple ways for you to get this information today. We will distribute it directly to you after the meeting or later on this week. And we're going to post it on the website as well. And then you can obviously reach out directly to members of our team. I'd like to introduce Stefan Sicking. He will be co-presenting with me today. And our team that's been working on the foundational procurement for the past few months has been Sherry Hickman, who's a manager within procurement and contract management, Shrim Pirani, who is our SupplyNet expert. We've got Julie Kaiser, Daniela Demetsu, who have both been working on change management communication with us, and Darlene Stewart, our project manager, that's helped us to get to this point today in the implementation. We will not be taking questions today because we do have a pile of information to get to, but like I said earlier, you can definitely reach out to us after the meeting if you've got questions or uncertain about something, and we'll definitely be there to help you as quickly as possible. If you're having connection issues today, please contact Matt or Jeremy and they can help you. So I will get right into it. Our agenda today, for introduction, review of the foundational procurement set initiative, the key changes that are effective April 1st, 2022. And section 1 is purchasing 101, how to purchase the U of A. Section 2, procurement website improvements. Section 3 is preferred supplier review. Section 4 is a multiple quote process, purchase between 20 and 75K. Section 5 is an overview of discretionary RFP, service contract requirements, expense reimbursement. And then at the end, we put a bunch of information together, an information library, contact information, and questions. So back in January 2021, the university worked with KPMG to have a look at all of our procurement needs at the university with the intent to find multiple cost savings opportunities. We took a bunch of direction from the steering committee, the SET steering committee, and we investigated a bunch of opportunities that were presented to us through a KPMG report. We basically came away with 4 findings: that we needed to do some work around enforcing the use of preferred suppliers. We needed to develop a multiple quote process for purchases between 20 and 75K. And we needed to put a discretionary request for proposal, RFP oversight in place. And we needed to redesign our service contract process at the university to make sure we had compliance and people were following through as described in the procedures. So how we plan to look at this and how we plan to implement this, we've done a redesign of our procurement website. We've completed what we call a guided buying process for our preferred suppliers, which will get you to the preferred suppliers much easier and allow you to identify which ones you need to use in which case. We've identified a multiple quote process and designed it. We redesigned a service contract process to make sure people are following the process. And then we've been doing targeted communications throughout campus to all administrative staff, researchers, and units, and preparing a lot of clear and precise messaging to the community on how to purchase at the university. So a number of activities have been redesigned. This includes, and will give us the desired outcome, which is procurement savings, streamlined processes, improved efficiencies, policy compliance, and accountability. So our procurement website was completely overhauled this past 6 months. And basically what we've done here is a new preferred supplier services page, how to purchase goods and services at the university, multiple quote process, and we put a frequently asked questions page that helps people navigate through our different processes, ensure that they know what the desired outcome is and how they should be following the process to get to that. We've done a lot of work around the preferred suppliers. We all know that they are the first choice for purchasing goods and services at the university. Done a lot of work around the multiple quote process for purchase between 20 and 75K. SupplyNet approval routing, thresholds for routing to PSA moved from 10,000K to 20,000K to align with the multiple quote process. And there will be a lot more enforcement around expense claim compliance at the university. So the procurement website improvements are available now. However, other changes, including SupplyNet updates, will be effective April 1st. So you can start to go to the website anytime, have a look at some of the updates and the changes that will occur April 1. However, the change when it occurs into the SupplyNet e-procurement solution comes effective April 1st. And that's when we expect people to start using it at that point. So purchasing 101, how to purchase at the U of A. So the primary purchasing method is SupplyNet. Corporate purchasing card can be used for eligible low dollar purchases that are not available from our preferred suppliers and do not require a SupplyNet purchase order. Process, though, first of all, is to ensure and determine what type of access an individual on campus needs. Do they need SupplyNet access? Do they need P-card access? Or do they need both accesses? Follow the U of A process for staff members to get access, so e-forms and e-security. Once access is granted, ensure training is completed for each tool, SupplyNet and P-card. And once you're ready to purchase, decide on which process tool is needed to purchase them. So there are 4 ways to purchase at the university. The primary ways: purchase order through a PSA vendor, purchase order for a non-PSA vendor. So we do have multiple vendors in the system and not preferred suppliers that can be used. Our corporate purchasing card, and a request for a proposal. We'll go through each one in a little bit more detail. First choice for procurement of goods and services is preferred supplier agreements. They are cost-effective and efficient processes for low-value repetitive purchase goods and services. They are required to be used April 1st, and they should be the first choice if a preferred supplier offers the goods or services that you're looking to purchase. We also have a bunch of vendors in the system, close to 20,000 at different times, where what we call non-PSA vendors, and those can be used for non-active PSA vendors. SupplyNet can be used by submitting a purchase requisition in SupplyNet, which will trigger the issuing of a purchase order to the vendor. We can also add new vendors that if they aren't a preferred supplier today, we can add a new vendor into the system, and we can also place orders with those vendors as well. The corporate purchasing program has been in place for many years at the university, and it's for purchases below $5,000. Goods or services are not available through the preferred suppliers. P-cards can be used when purchasing goods from preferred suppliers or purchasing of restricted goods. They should never be used for those 2 instances. Then one of the new redesigns we've just recently completed and we're getting ready to implement for April 1st. It's a multiple quote process for purchases between 20 and 75K. So you do not need multiple quotes if you're.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. Can you slow down a little bit? We've had a few requests.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I will slow down. So the multiple quote processes is for purchases between $20,000 and $75,000. So this is for purchases that are above 20,000, but we also recommended you can also do multiple quotes between 5,000 and 20,000 as well. And recently we've had a request from the U.S. Federal Awards. So PricewaterhouseCoopers has been working with the university and has recommended all purchases activities above 10,000K US include multiple quotes. And this is for the National Institute of Health. Currently, we're working with the Office of the RO to implement this and describe how researchers will have to manage this internally. Finally, the request for proposal. So requests for proposal are above 75K for goods and services, and construction above 200K. Once a PO is put, or a requisition is put into the system, into SupplyNet, and a PO is issued, or PO comes into Central here, and then Central then will complete the RFP process essentially here, and work with the requisitioner to complete an RFP and put it out on the street for request for proposal. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Stefan, so I will stop sharing my screen here, and Stefan will go through the procurement website improvements.
Okay, thanks very much, Phil, and welcome to our procurement session here. I'm just going to share my screen. So I'm going to walk through the procurement website improvements. Primarily, actually, if you put in procurement in our U of A website, you'll find updated pages, and we've made a number of improvements from a procurement perspective. So one of the key pages that we've improved is a new one called Purchase Goods and Services. It's in this section here, and there's a number of pages that we have updated here. We also added some quick links. They link you to SupplyNet or the Forms cabinet. Also, we have a question section. So just to note, if you have invoicing or payment, receiving, or P-card related questions, please visit the Staff Service Center. And for procurement related questions, we have an email called procure@ualberta.ca. We also have a new section called Frequently Asked Questions, and we're going to go through those in the session here, but you can revisit them in this section as well. So the Purchase Goods and Services is one of the key pages that we have implemented. And our primary purchasing method as most of you know, is SupplyNet. It is based on the Coupa platform, which is the market leader in procurement software. We've implemented it about 6 years ago, and it's used, for example, by all major banks. And also the year that we implemented, MIT is one of the universities that's implemented as well. And we're in contact with other universities that use this platform on an ongoing basis to implement improvements. And we've also we have about 4,000 active users actually in SupplyNet today. Now, also the first choice when you purchase goods and services is to look if you have that product available from a preferred supplier. And we have new preferred supplier pages on that. And then the second section here on this page, and we really encourage you to take a close look at this, is so if you can't find the goods and services from a preferred supplier, we have some guided buying areas that kind of guide you what to do next. So we have sections under 5,000, between 5 and 20, 20 and 75, and then above 75,000. So below $5,000, we really have two options if the item is not available from a preferred supplier. In most cases, you should do SupplyNet PO, and we have about 80,000 orders annually. So in most cases, that's the method. It is also used for all contract for services, and also purchases where the P card is not really an option, and the supplier accepts a PO. We have a link in here to the eligible and ineligible expenses from a corporate card perspective. So when you click on that, it'll actually take you to our revised website, and you can see the eligible and ineligible expenses from a P card perspective. In terms of purchases between 5 and 20,000, a SupplyNet PO is required in this instance, and we do recommend that you obtain more than one quote if the purchase is within that amount. Now, when the amount is 20,000 and above, as of March 31st, these transactions are going to get routed at, sorry, if they're below 20,000, they get routed directly to the supplier. So this is a change because today everything over 10,000 is routed to procurement, and going forward as of March 31st, it'll be everything over 20,000. Now, one of the big changes we're implementing is the amounts between 20 and 75,000. Effective April 1st, a minimum of 2 supplier quotations are required, unless the purchase is made from a preferred supplier, or when the purchase relates to an existing contract renewal or extension. And we have a new process that Phil's going to walk through in a bit more detail. Also, all SupplyNet requisitions $20,000 and above will route to procurement for final review and approval. The next section, 75,000 and above, this is an area where we go out for public tender, and we have a competitive quote process. So there's really no changes to that process compared to what we have today. We also have another section that relates to SupplyNet requester access and corporate purchasing card access. So what we do recommend for departments to look at their employees, and if you have an employee who anticipates to place 5 or more orders in SupplyNet per year, that they should get the requester access. You can click on the link on the website, and it'll take you to a page that tells you how to do that. And also from a corporate purchasing card perspective, employees who regularly purchase low-dollar goods or services that are not available from a preferred supplier and don't require a PO should have a corporate purchasing card. And again, as I mentioned, we have about 4,000 SupplyNet requesters and about 1,800 corporate card holders today. Also, if you don't fall into one of the 2 categories here, so individuals who procure infrequently and don't require the above access, you're encouraged to work with your supervisor, academic department manager, finance partner, or faculty general manager to determine the best process on how to purchase goods and services. So next, this is the preferred supplier page. I'm going to walk through that in more detail in a minute. And also we have made some changes to the SupplyNet pages. So here again, this is based on the Coupa platform. So we have, if you have SupplyNet access, you will get access to preferred supply catalogs with university pricing, the preferred prices here. Also, we have automated approval routings to budget owners and to the procurement area for requisitions, invoices, and change orders. It is all automated. Also, the dispatch to the supplier is automated. For preferred suppliers, it goes through CXML directly into their system. And we have a lot of suppliers also set up with email. Also, we have streamlined invoice processing. In almost all instances, we get the invoice directly from the supplier electronically into our system. And then we have matching. You've probably seen in some instances, you've received an email to confirm receipt. So we can match the invoice to the receipt. Okay, Phil is going to talk the multi-quote process. That's another key page that we have. And with that, I'm going to talk about the preferred supplier updates that we have made in on our web pages. I'll talk about the benefits, some of the improvements that we've made on the site, and also give a couple of examples, followed with several frequently asked questions. So some of the key benefits that relate to preferred suppliers is we have competitive pricing and discounts. The punch-out catalogs in SupplyNet are available for about 17 vendors. Also, if it is above 20,000, you do not require multiple quotes. And also there's significant supplier knowledge relating to the university's procurement policies, standards, procedures, and also in a lot of cases, there are supplier-specific benefits that'll be provided, and those will get highlighted in the pages now. Or also, there are significant efficiencies from an order and payment process perspective. And also we have hassle-free returns and refunds. And when we have a preferred supplier, that means we've awarded the contract through a competitive bid process for the use of all departments and faculties. So one example that I just want to show and show you the efficiencies is the office in an office supplies order. And I'm going to use that example again a little bit later. But here we basically, you would place your order in SupplyNet, you go to the preferred supplier catalog, which is a Staples. What you'll see there, you're going to see university pricing, which also includes an access to a top value list. That's a list of our most popular core items where we get special discounts. You can set up favorites with Staples, and also you can default a speed code to SupplyNet, so your data entry is quite minimal. In SupplyNet, we have electronic approval routing, so it'll route directly to the budget owner, or if you are the budget owner, or you have the $500 self-approval authority, it'll actually get automatically approved. Staples provides free shipping and next day delivery in most items, and they also send us the invoices electronically. And anytime you use a punch-out SupplyNet catalog, you do not require receiving, okay? So just from an efficiencies perspective, all you have to do is you go into the system, you access the catalog, you fetch your items, and you submit. And if you're the approver, basically, that's all you have to do, and you're going to receive the goods the next day. So this is, we just wanted to showcase you from an efficiencies perspective, how easy it can be in the example of an office supplies order. So this is a page of the new preferred supplier website. So we have a few areas here. We have a search area. When you click on the various commodities, and we have about 25 commodities, you're going to see a description of the products and services, the ordering method, some key benefits, and also supplier contract information. Okay, so we have a search area. We have a commodities column. We have it's sorted by alphabetically. We've got about 25, and we encourage you to look at this website. We have the preferred suppliers listed that relate to this particular commodity. And also we have products and services. So any word that you see here is searchable in our keyword search. And then lastly, we have a column around how to order. And it's usually SupplyNet, or you either contact the supplier directly, or you go to the supplier website. So the example I want to show here is to look for, again, office supplies. If you type in office and you search, you'll see any of the commodities that features office in any of their rows. And so when you click on the office supplies link, it'll open up the office supplies details page. So that page has a number of sections. The first one is products and services. So here it'll tell you who the preferred supplier is and what they offer in general terms. We're not listing everything, of course. How to order. If it is a SupplyNet order, we create a link into SupplyNet as well. So you can create your start your requisition and initiate your order here. We also have a key benefits section. So in the case of staples, we have competitive pricing, we have a top value list, we have free delivery to U of A central receiving, and there's a few other benefits that we've added here. And also we have added contact information, so it'll be very easy for you to kind of follow up with the supplier directly in case there's any questions. So when you click on the SupplyNet link to place the order, it'll take you into the SupplyNet system. And here, and this is most of you that have used SupplyNet will be familiar with this part, that you see that the icons to our preferred suppliers. So you can click on the staples link here to start your order. And if you have favorites set up, you can add them in here. We also have the top value list that I mentioned, and you could start your SupplyNet order. Just to show you an example, if you went to the regular staples.ca website to buy copy paper compared to the SupplyNet punch-out catalog, $61 versus $37, it's about a 40% savings that you receive by ordering through SupplyNet versus going into the regular Staples site. The next example I wanted to show is printing services. So in this area, this is one. So if you search for printing, you'll see Berg groups of companies, and how to order is through the Berg website. So in this case, you click on printing services on the commodity. It'll show you the details. And here you'll see the products and services that Berg offers, and then how to order. Now, in this instance, we're not actually ordering through SupplyNet. So we have added the website to place an order with Berg. Or if you have a custom order, you can contact Deborah Bernard via the email that we have here. Again, we also have key benefits and key content information for each one. The next category is lab equipment. So that is, of course, used for lots of research here at the university. So when you type in laboratory, you see the lab equipment category. And when you click on that, you'll actually see, first you see that the ordering is done through SupplyNet. And secondly, you'll see a table that lists the various lab equipment suppliers that we have. The one we list first is Fisher Scientific. That is our primary U of A supplier for lab equipment and supplies, chemicals, safety products, and so on. We have the contact information, and we have some of the benefits. Benefits here are, the punch-out catalog pricing, of course, free delivery within 24 hours on core items, and it is free shipping, and usually is delivered within 24 hours. We also, in this table here, have a number of other preferred suppliers for specialty lab equipment and supplies. So those are featured on the same page here, but they're featured below. So again, if we click on the SupplyNet link to place the order, it'll take us into the SupplyNet website. And again, we can use our link here to start our order as Fisher Scientific or any of the other lab supplies, preferred suppliers that we have. We also have preferred suppliers by commodity section. And this is not available right now. That's going to be published on April 1st, but I just wanted to show you how it works. So you could also click on lab supplies here. And when you click on that, it'll actually open another page for you that again, it has similar information in terms of the products and services, as well as contact information, but it also has a link to the actual punch out catalog. So if you do see the link here, you can just click on the link to start placing your order, because we recognize that not in all instances, like in a lot of instances, people actually go into Supplier to start their order. So we also wanted to provide some commodity guidance from a preferred supplier perspective within Supplier itself. Again, this will be available April 1st, 2022. We also have a technology section. I'm just going to click on that for 1 second. So in technology, we have a table that shows you, okay, who is selling what products. So who's selling Apple products, laptops, desktop, Chromebooks. And if you click on the link, on the logo here, it'll take you again right into the punch out catalog site. And here I just wanted to show that Microsoft, as an example, they have a university website where they feature the items that we can purchase, desktop, laptops, and so on. And also they have a section here where you can see they show you exactly what the standards are that the U of A has and the products that you can purchase. So if you're buying for engineering or medicine, you just go to that particular link and it'll show you what what desktops and laptops are available for you. Now, we have a couple of preferred supplier frequently asked questions. Question 1 is, and again, these ones are available on our website. So I need to purchase a product that's not available from preferred supplier. What should I do? So if you have confirmed that the item is not available from preferred supplier, please place the order using a free-form SupplyNet requisition or using your P card. But first, you should check to see if the item is available from a preferred supplier. How do I know if we have a preferred supplier for the item I need to order? Here, now again, we're recommending you to use the improved preferred supplier web pages that we've created to see if we have a preferred supplier for the commodity you're looking for. Question number 3 is, I don't have access to purchase from a preferred supplier in SupplyNet. How can I place an order? So this is a good question. Only SupplyNet requesters can place orders in SupplyNet and also view preferred supplier catalogs with university pricing. Again, we have about 4,000 individuals who have access to SupplyNet, but not everybody does have that. So if you anticipate to place 5 or more SupplyNet orders per year, please contact your supervisor or academic department manager to request SupplyNet access. The link is on our website and it's also in the presentation here. And then if you order less frequently, please work with your supervisor, academic department manager, finance partner, or faculty general manager to determine the process to purchase goods and services. The preferred supplier cannot meet my lead time or is out of stock for the items that are required. Proper planning is of course important, but we do have scenarios where a preferred supplier may be out of stock or may not be able to meet the deadlines related to your project. So in this case, it is acceptable to purchase from another supplier. So what we recommend is you create a SupplyNet PO and you use the justification field on the requisition to explain your rationale. Question number 5. What is procurement doing to ensure we're receiving the best possible pricing with preferred suppliers? Again, of course, all our preferred suppliers are competitively bid and they offer the best overall value to the university. So we're combining the spend of the entire university and we're able to secure increased savings through that. Also, we're looking at our contracts annually and conducting surveys with some of the key departments to explore opportunities for improvement. And we just want to mention that the savings are not necessarily just the sticker cost savings. There is overall efficiencies and there's a lot of other benefits that are received from our preferred suppliers that kind of make up the overall savings. And question number 6, if another supplier is offering the same product at a lower price, what should I do? So we're recommending, so our preferred supplier pricing we feel is very competitive And generally, we discourage outside price shopping for items that are available from a preferred supplier. A lower priced item purchased from another supplier can often result in a higher overall cost when you consider the extra time and effort spent from an end-to-end processing perspective. So you may save $1 or $2 on the actual price of the item, but the time it took to find it and then the invoicing and potential shipping costs, it generally increases that. In many instances, it's also not an apples-to-apples comparison when you include warranty, return policies, product configuration, and delivery costs. An example being IT equipment, where we have a list of preferred hardware standards that need to be met to ensure continuity through the organization. And when IT equipment is purchased that doesn't meet these standards, the cost of the institution increases over time due to software issues and additional IT support that's required to support non-standardized IT equipment. Now, there may be scenarios where there's a material price difference for an identical product. And if you do encounter that, please notify the procurement team at procure@ualberta.ca prior to placing the order, so we can investigate and provide guidance. Okay, with that, I will stop sharing my screen and hand it over back to Phil for the multi-quote process.
Thanks, Stefan. I have been just looking at the Q&A a little bit here. So there was a couple of questions related to preferred suppliers. And I know, Sharon, you're trying to answer them as you go here. And I think Julie's also trying to answer them. But a couple of ones I think we should just address really quickly, Stefan. What's a punch out?
Okay, punch out is the SupplyNet catalog that we have. We have about 16 different catalogs, Staples being one, Fisher Scientific, Microserve. You basically just go into the online catalog and you start filling your shopping cart, similar to like an Amazon-like shopping experience. Okay.
And Sherry, this one's probably for you. New preferred supplier agreements. What's our process around that, and how often are we investigating new options around preferred suppliers?
Yeah, I can answer that. So usually what's involved in looking at a new preferred supplier would be use across multiple departments at the university, high volumes of usage. So dependent on what the product is or service, if there is a lot of use out there that more than one department can use, preferred supplier agreement may be something to look at. You could always reach out to purchasing and we can look at what your requirements are to see if that's specific to a preferred supplier agreement, or maybe it is just an RFP for your department only.
Great, thanks, Sherry. And the last one that I think we should just really touch on really quickly, on the preferred supplier agreements, you do not require multiple quotes. We have negotiated the pricing and it's been fairly negotiated. I think it does give us excellent value at the university, and we should use those preferred supplier agreements. Okay, I will start to move on, and Sharon, continue to answer these questions, but if we have time at the end, we will go through the question and answers that have come in through the Q&A inbox here, and we will try and answer as many as we can before we run out of time. Okay. Okay, we're going to get into the multiple quote process. So we're going to talk about the implementation and the process around it and how it applies. We're going to give a couple of examples, an example of where we did receive multiple quotes, and then one example where we did not receive multiple quotes and what we call a singular sole source process. And there is a bunch of frequently asked questions we'll review and go through related to the multiple quote process. So one of the questions I did see in the inbox as well was, who did we consult with about these changes? Well, we did have a task force that was established and worked together for close to between 6 and 8 months. We took feedback from that group over this time period, and we met every 2 weeks during that time period, and then had final approval through the SET steering committee to move forward with these changes. So these were well vetted across institution. I think our task force had close to 60 people on it at different times throughout the process. And we made sure that we took into account different opportunities and obviously different roadblocks that people have faced out there. And we're trying to address all of them as we go through this process change. So like I said earlier, effective April 1st, multiple quotes will be required between 20 and 75K. They are recommended for purchase between 5 and 20K, but not mandatory. And multiple quotes are not required for preferred suppliers, contract extensions, or renewals. So, I mean, there is a few out there, and obviously, if you use a preferred supplier, you limit the extra requirement of work to do. However, we do believe the multiple quote process is quite simple to execute and gives us a lot of value. And we are providing clear instructions here today and documentation and quote templates to ensure a fair and transparent procurement process for you. So here's the process. I'm going to walk through it quickly, but we're also going to go over to the website again and show the same information, just so you kind of can compare one set of information to the other and make sure you have a clear understanding of the process. So to begin the process, you need to determine the total procurement value. And when you're looking at procurement value, you have to take into consideration annual maintenance fees, warranties, services that may be required over a period of time. We did complete a quote checklist, and that provides you a lot of information. And when you get the link on this, you'll be able to have a look at it yourself. But it just tells you and identifies a bunch of information that you may want to consider when you're actually getting ready to get a quote put together and you're reaching out to a vendor. And I mean, a lot of these things are important to recognize the total value of your purchase, because the equipment or the service may be of one price, but the maintenance on that equipment or the maintenance on that service may be an additional price that you need to take into account when you're putting the PO in place into the system. So we also have created an invitation to quote for goods and services form between 20 and 75K. Again, I'll walk through that in a little bit more detail as we move forward. So the first thing you need to do is determine the timelines that you need to, first of all, you're issuing it on, and then you respond by date. So you may want to have go out to a vendor and you need a quick response, or you may have a little bit more time. And I'll talk about this later as well. But we recommend at least 5 days if you have that amount of time. But if you don't, obviously you can ask for a shorter timeline from the vendor. And you can also ask for a longer timeline if you expect that they need to do some more technical requirements or do a little more research from their end. You have to identify the University of Alberta requesting department. So your department and all your contact information will be put in there, the supplier information, and then the product or service requirement details. So what you're actually looking to purchase, including maintenance fees, warranties, and those other things that come into play on a quote. So once that quote template is completed, you would send that and email it off to the potential supplier, noting the timetable requirements. So the date you're issuing it on and the date you want them to respond by. And so, like I said, 5 working days is a reasonable time frame. However, it could be shorter and it could also be longer depending on your current needs and how much you need this process to be expedited. Once the respond by date has passed, you take all your received quotations, you check them over, make sure that the supplier has acknowledged and completed and signed them, and determine whether to accept on the quotations and place an order. Now, good thing to note here is you have no obligation on a purchase or on a quotation to make the purchase. However, if you want to proceed, we'll go through that process here. So if making a purchase, create a supply net requisition for the selected supplier, attach all received supplier quotations and any supporting documents, including any no quotation responses. Each is a separate file. So whenever you're getting a response from one vendor, any information they provided you may be relevant to the purchase. So try and put it into one PDF file and attach it. So let's say in the instance of coming up here, we've got 3 responses to our quotation request. We would like to see three files actually attached and provided to us through the portal within SupplyNet. Use the justification field to explain your decision and select the competitive procurement value, multiple quotes attached. Now, we do have other competitive procurement values in the system, and I'll just talk to them really quickly here. Other values for selection include the competitive bid, 75K and above, not applicable because it's a preferred supplier or it's a contract renewal. And we'll talk about this later, but the policy exception form is attached, and I'll go through that process later on. So submit the requisition. The requisition will route to the budget owner first for approval, and then we'll route to procurement and contract management for review, approval, and submission to the potential vendor. So here's our first example, trial stat purchase. We requested 3 quotes from 3 different suppliers, and we received 2 replies to our quote request. So we've made the decision to place the order with ABC Scientific. So here's the website again. So this is the same information I've just gone through. I'll show you how to go through the process again on the website, multiple quote process. Here's the information that tells you exactly what I just walked through previously there. determine the total procurement value, complete the timetable, etc. Email identical copy. And we have some quick links here that will help you get to the different templates that we've created here. The quote template and the quote checklist is right here on the website. And the directions are here on the website as well and tell you how to do it. And so you go into the supply net, you attach the 3 quotes as identified here. You fill in your department information, fill out your requisition, attach all the quotes and supporting documents. Each is a separate file so that we can distinguish between them. Add the justification. So we accepted low bid from ABC Scientific, see attachment. And then select the competitive procurement value. Like I said earlier, there's multiple options down there, but the one we need here is the multiple quotes attached. And then you would hit submit and it would route to the budget owner and then it would route to PCM to complete the requisition and submit it. So the other scenario is where we couldn't get multiple quotes. And there's a bunch of examples that we put together on a singular sole source justification form that can be attached. And those examples include limited or no response to the quotation request. That would be the first one. Unique supplier, and there's a whole listing under unique supplier. I'll go through a couple of the key ones: protection of patents, copyrights, due to an absence of competition for technical reasons. Supplier of goods or services is controlled by a supplier that's not statutory monopoly. To ensure compatibility with existing goods, to maintain specialized goods that must be maintained by the manufacturer or those goods or its representatives. Work is to be performed on property by a contract according to provisions of a warranty, guarantee held in respect of the property or the original. Work is to be performed on a leased building. The procurement is for subscriptions, newspapers, magazines, or other periodicals. Procurement is for preceptor and or physician payments. Specialized teaching and or institution. Additional items on our list is additional purchase from original supplier, emergency situation, prototype, unusual disposal or sell-off, and then confidentiality agreements. So we'll go through the similar situation where you have to complete the sole and single source justification form. And the same example that we had previously with the cross staff purchases, requested quotes from 3 suppliers. We only received 1 response to our quote request, and that was through ABC Scientific, and they have submitted a quote to us. Decision was to place an order with ABC Scientific. And again, going back to the website, here's the same information that we just previously talked about. The sole and single source justification form is on the side here, and you can just click the link to complete it. And these are the information I talked about exception processing, and this is how the form looks. We'll get a little bit more into detail here. And then this is information on the form that needs to be completed. So the person that's requesting it, the value, you select on section 4 here, A1, singular sole source request, and you put your information in and then your budget owner's information into the form. So the same thing, we go into SupplyNet and we attach the information that we have. We complete the sole single source exception form and we attach it there. And if we did get responses from people that didn't want to respond to our quote request, you can also attach them for justification. But again, when you look at the justification fields and the other fields here, the attachments are there. Add the justification. In this case, requested 3 quotes from 3 different companies. Only ABC Scientific responded. Sole source exception form is attached. And then at the bottom, you select the competitive procurement value of the policy exception form attached. So a very simple process. We believe it's quite slick and it's easy to manage and walk through. I will go into some of the questions about multiple quotes and then some of the question and answer scenarios that we have put together here. So do I require multiple quotes for all purchases between 20 and 75K? No, they are not required for PSA vendors and contract extensions or renewals. I could not obtain 2 quotes. What should I do? Complete the sole and single source justification form, attach it to the requisition, provide the justification, select the competitive procurement field policy exception form attached. Question 3, when requesting multiple quotes, what information is required? Use a supplier quote checklist. It'll identify all the information that you need to take into consideration and ensures that you give enough information to the vendor to make a proper quote and provide you with information to make your purchase and move forward. I've not requested a quote from a vendor before. How is this done? Again, complete the invitation to quote for goods and services between 20 and 75K, form via email to the vendor. One thing to note here, some vendors will have their own quotation form and respond with that. That is an acceptable form and should be attached. We are not expecting them to always respond with our form and complete that. In a lot of cases, they will use their own and submit that back to us. So I will stop there for a second. Shrin, is there anything around multiple quotes that we should maybe just have a quick look at in the question and answer?
Well, I think you've covered most of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we can go through, we'll walk through them after the fact to make sure that we try and cover most of them off. We still have quite a bit of time here, so.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, the next section we're going to talk about is discretionary RFP oversight, service contract redesign, and expense reimbursement. So often we get situations that come in with a request for proposal that there might be an alternative method to going out for an RFP, and those could include defer, delay, or cancel. The current process today at the university is if we do get a PO or a requisition in the system, we would reach out to the requisitioner, start to complete an RFP process, and put it on the street and take the responses back and then determine who the potential supplier or vendor would be. In the future here, PCM has the ability to provide additional oversight and review within the RFP process. In many cases, there are other opportunities, including collaboration opportunities, because PCM is well aware of all the purchases that are being made across campus. One example is we had one department going out to look for an external contractor when some in-house support could have been provided and used. And in some cases, the RFP may not be needed and they may cancel the purchase. So those are just some of the scenarios that we would look at to provide additional oversight and support to the campus community. So contracting for services. This is one area that we receive a lot of requisition or a lot of invoices coming into us after the fact. And we really want to make sure that people follow the process so that we can expedite the process and make sure we've got a PO in place and make sure the terms and conditions of that PO are submitted to the vendor. Currently, prior to beginning work, a supply net requisition should be completed. If the value of the agreement is between 20 and 75K, multiple quotes are required and they should be submitted with the requisition. If multiple quotes cannot be obtained, the completion of the sole and single source justification form is required and should be submitted with the requisition. Work may not commence only once the purchase order has been created and approved. So the scenario that we're getting today is we're getting people submitting invoices while the previously issued purchase order. And we have people signing contracts and submitting them with the invoice and submitting that into us or putting that signed contract into the system. And we have to go back and then reach back to the vendor and get a properly signed contract. Today, procurement and contract management is responsible for signing contracts for contract for services. And that process should be followed. We follow the terms and conditions of the university. And a lot of times when you get a contract that came from a potential vendor, the vendor has their own terms and conditions that hasn't taken into account ours and might put additional risks to the university. And finally, expense reimbursement. So we've tried to make it very clear that expense reimbursement is not a purchasing method support of the university. Expense reimbursement should be used for purchases below $500 in the following situations only: parking, mileage, registration, remote locations, cash economies, and emergency situations. So there is situations that do arise and expense reimbursement would have to be used. However, not having access to supply, not having access to corporate purchasing card is not an excuse for that. We need people to start to get access to these systems so that we can make the purchases the correct way and ensure that we get the most value for our spend at the university. So effective April 1st, non-compliant expenses reconciled in a PeopleSoft expense template will be returned. If you're completing an expense reimbursement claim, identify the situation above that applies. An example would be remote location, Northern Alberta community. So we're looking for people to provide justification to an expense reimbursement so it is expedited and processed as quickly as possible in the system. So some question and answers around expense reimbursements. Can I use my personal credit card to purchase goods and services on behalf of the university? No, university purchasing methods must be used. This includes SupplyNet and U of A issued purchasing card. I incorrectly used my personal credit card to purchase goods and services. Can I get reimbursed? An expense claim would have to be completed and rationale for the error is required. Compliance unit will be looking for rationale to approve the claim. Recognition of the error and your plan to procure goods or services in the future should be identified. So we do recognize it does occur. People make mistakes. However, we want to know that you've got a plan in place to correct this and get a purchasing card, a university issued purchasing card, so the purchases all purchased through our system, not your personal credit card. Why can I not use my personal credit card to purchase goods and services? Expense reimbursement process is costly and does not allow the university to maximize savings by combining all spend into one big bucket. Processing costs are high. The combined spend of all purchases allows the U of A competitive advantage when procuring goods and services. Compliance within U Apple policy and procedure is a requirement. Okay. Stefan, do you want to walk through this portion on the improved procurement website and the contact information and stuff? Or do you want me to do it?
I think we have walked through it already. We just want to re-emphasize here that this is, please go visit this site. Like, we've really made some improvements for in a number of areas, including the FAQs. And I just want to mention as well, we've gotten almost 100 questions here, so we will make updates to the FAQs here as well, based on the questions that we're getting in the session here.
Okay. So we do have a bunch of resources that we have put in the slide deck today, links to UAPL. So all the UAPL policies and procedures that are reflective of procurement are listed below. So corporate purchasing card procedure, expense reimbursement procedure, supplying goods and services policy, competitive bid and exception procedure, purchase of restricted items procedure, and then the payment procedure. We've also provided links to our forms, which is supplier quote checklist, the invitation to quote for goods and services between 20 and 75K, and then our single and sole source justification form. We did a bunch of communications out to campus over the last several months. We've put links to those communications so that people can get that information back if they need to have a look at it, but they were sent out to the quad and then through the STET website as well. And then we have our team that you can reach out to directly as well. So myself, I'm Director of Procurement and Logistics. Darlene Stewart is our project manager, has been working on the procurement stream with us. Stefan Sicking, who's manager of SupplyNet and has worked in procurement and contract management. Sherry Hickman, who is our manager of product and equipment, procurement and contract management. And Sharon Pirani, who is our SupplyNet administrator and works with the SupplyNet system, doing all the training, updates, upgrades, and all those different things that come into running that system. So Sharon, do you want to just open up some of the Q&As and we'll just have a quick look at them, and we'll maybe start at the bottom and get through as many as we can here.
Sure. So we've received a couple of questions with regards to are they obligated to accept the lowest quote?
Sherry, do you want to answer that?
Are we obligated to accept the lowest quote? I mean, if it's an apples and apples comparison, why wouldn't you accept the lowest quote? So I think there's more to that question than just that part of the question. So again, I would reach out to procurement services and talk it through, because yes, if it's an apples to apples comparison, you should be purchasing from the lowest quote.
Great. Sharon?
And the other one is how long does it take for the CFS requisitions to be processed on our end?
Do you want me to answer that one as well, Phil?
Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, so CFS, if it is under 10 today, they are automatically processed. If it's something that procurement services has to review, it would be dependent on what it is that we're looking at. I mean, right now we're sitting at year end, so things are taking a little bit longer. But normally, in normal times, it should take about 48 hours unless there's something that is a little more intricate with the procurement.
Okay. Sharon?
Sure. Another one we have is, what is the process if the item being ordered is not from a preferred supplier and the cost of shipping is more than the item?
I can answer that as well, Phil, if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead.
So if it's not a preferred supplier, you're really at the mercy of the vendor unless we want to take responsibility for the shipping, which means we also accept the risk for looking after that end of the business. So again, dependent. These are really great questions, but it really is dependent on what it is, what are we buying, how big the item is, how many dollars we're spending on the item. So it isn't an easy question to just give a simple answer to.
Go ahead, Sharon.
So we have another one around expenses. It says for expenses, I plan to use my PER to cover the expense. Should I use my personal card or the corporate card?
Yeah, PER is completely exempt from any of these purchasing methods, so you have to use your personal credit card. The university has not reestablished or changed that program in any way, and none of these changes reflect the PER process. So continue to use your credit card, put the claim through PeopleSoft under the PER panel, and you will be reimbursed directly on that. Go ahead. Sharon.
Another question is, are we still able to use our personal credit cards when traveling, as P cards aren't to be used for hotels, etc.?
Yeah, and I think that question relates to travel expenses. So the first method today is the diner's card. However, one thing we are looking into right away, and we're looking to implement a one card system, which will help us cover off the travel expenses as well. So we're starting to investigate that after April 1st here, and hopefully we'll be able to change that process moving forward and go to one card instead of the university corporate purchasing card and the university travel card. We'd like to have them under one umbrella and be able to process reimbursements that way. So yeah, you can continue to use your personal credit card, but we do recommend that you use the university travel card, the diner's card today. Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, another one that we have is, I don't see any suppliers for field research equipment. Do we just continue as is using vendors we have used in the past? Question.
So I can answer that one. Again, I don't know what field equipment is. So dependent, if our preferred supplier agreements don't carry that type of equipment, then you would buy from you would do a free form rec with the product you're buying. If it's between 20 and 75, you'd be required to add 2 quotes.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Sharon.
another question is, do preferred suppliers deliver to the home address for those of us working from home and not likely to be back in the office anytime soon?
No, I can answer. Go ahead, Sharon. You go ahead.
Okay. I thought I already answered that in that big stream there, but no, the agreements we currently have do not include home delivery. So what we've done in the last 2 years is anybody that requires some products, they make arrangements at distribution services and they'll pick up the products there.
And in addition to that, Sherry, they can also have it delivered to their room number on campus. Everybody has a landing point at some place on campus. And so they might have a general office that they can pick up at, or other locations that they're assigned to when they do actually land on campus. But I mean, that's really a pandemic issue, and part of that issue will go away. Some people will remain working at home, but there should be minimal amount of supplies that are purchased for home work. Go ahead, Sharon.
Is there an opportunity to have goods delivered directly to our area building, or must it go to central receiving first?
Well, our preferred suppliers and our other vendors all have a central delivery point, which is distribution operations in the materials management building. It would have to be for a special circumstance. I don't understand what that would be, so we might have to get more information on that. But in general, everything does come centrally here. You can imagine we have close to 400 to 500 vendors, or 400 to 500 couriers that come on campus here every day. If they're going out and running all over campus to try and do deliveries, they would never get everything delivered. I know for a fact from Pure Later and FedEx and UPS alone, we get 2,000 to 3,000 packages in a day. And to imagine trying to distribute that across campus directly, it just wouldn't work. The model is set up for a central distribution model that needs to be used to minimize traffic on campus, make sure we have a safe working environment. We've got a lot of students walking around these buildings as well. And for efficiencies purposes, central distribution can get it out there faster than those courier companies could get it out there. In addition to that, those courier companies base their rates for us for stuff coming inbound and for stuff that's outbound based on our central delivery models as well. Go ahead, Shrin.
Can we use a P card for travel?
Not at this point, you cannot use a purchasing card for travel, but like I said earlier, we are attempting to put a one card program together to cover off travel and purchasing of goods and services. And hopefully we have some news on that in the next 8 to 12 weeks here, and we can figure out the direction, but we are exploring it right now.
Right, another one we have is, are there factors considered in determining procurement value besides financials? For example, in addition to economic and quality considerations, the City of Edmonton includes environmental and social value considerations.
Do you want to handle that, Sherry?
Yep, I can. We also take into consideration certain factors in determining that criteria. So again, reach out, we can discuss with you and go into some detail. Thank you.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Sherry.
I'm just going through. There's another one for multiple quotes. Are you obligated to accept the lowest quote? Maybe a vendor with marginally more expensive has a better reputation or reliability.
I think you just have to look at the justification field and explain your decision. If for some reason you're not accepting the lowest quote, you have to justify it, and that'll be our determination whether or not PCM accepts that. If as long as it's clearly stated and you're comparing apples to apples, we would expect to use the lowest quote unless delivery times come into play, the equipment is different, those sort of things. That's the reason we would accept a higher quote. But in general, I think lower quotes would be the primary method of purchasing.
There's a question with regards to, even though proper planning is very important, sometimes urgent needs come up. These are often not trivial and happens more often than is being suggested. In the interest of time, what is the proposed response time for approval to order from a more quicker vendor?
Well, that's an emergency situation and they are acceptable. Again, justification needs to be put into the system so that we can manage them and make the decision. We don't want to bog down the system. We want to make sure we expedite purchasing. However, we do need to make sure that you've justified your decision so that we can make an educated decision and either approve the requisition or ask for more details from the requisitioner.
How many researchers were on your task force?
How many researchers? Oh, I would have to go back. Sherry, can you remember how many researchers were on the task force?
I don't have the exact number, no. We'd have to go back to answer that one, Phil.
Okay.
I mean, we did have representation from that side. I just don't remember how many.
Okay.
Sorry, Phil. Should I
Go
go
ahead.
ahead?
Yeah, you go ahead.
How are supply chain delays being handled by the U of A for preferred vendors or others?
Can you repeat that, Sharon? I missed the first part.
How are supply chain delays being handled by the U of A for preferred vendors and others?
I'm going to let Sherry answer this one.
Thank you. We do recognize that there are some significant supply chain issues right now for the U of A as well as the rest of the world. We are really working with our preferred suppliers to watch our delivery times, and where they just can't meet the delivery in time for when we need it, we're working with other vendors. So again, we recognize there are supply chain issues right now, and we are working with end users to make sure that they're getting their required equipment on time. And if you can't use a preferred supplier because you can't meet that timeline, then we'll work with the end users to find it elsewhere.
As supply chain is a challenge right now, we all do recognize that, mostly with electronic equipment and glassware, which obviously is lab supplies. We are working with our suppliers to try and figure out exactly what they can supply and what timelines they can supply that in. But again, we ask that you try the preferred supplier first If for some reason they cannot supply, we will definitely allow you to purchase from an alternative vendor. Go ahead, Shrin.
How should we get pricing info from preferred non-punch-out suppliers?
Sherry, you want to go there?
I can, yeah. We have created a template that'll be it's in the forms cabinet now, I believe, right, Phil?
Yeah.
To really assist with what you should ask and, just to make sure that you're getting an apples to apples comparison. But Shireen, can you re-answer, say the question again? I just want to make sure I'm answering it correctly.
I just parked it. I'll pull it up and read it back to you in a bit.
Okay.
Another question is around multiple quotes. Is the multiple quote process only for goods and services or also for construction contracts?
Sherry?
It's for all goods and services, and construction should be able to get 2 quotes.
Okay, we're going to take one more question, and I just want Stefan to go through a couple things quickly before we end the session.
Okay, so the last one is most of my purchases are laptops for the group members, which we get from Dell and Apple with education discounts. Why neither Dell nor Apple are on the list of preferred suppliers? The 2 you have for computer equipment, resale Apple and Dell are at a higher price.
Sherry?
I would have to look at an example there. I mean, we receive educational pricing from Apple, so the pricing should be relatively very close or the same. So I'd have to really look at the example. Thanks.
Okay, sure, and we'll wrap that up. Stefan, can you just talk a little bit about, before we let people go, when everything will be published, what's live today, and what when SupplyNet will be updated and everything like that, and how to kind of tie the 2 things together?
Sure, Phil. So the web pages that we've described are available today. So everything that you've seen in terms of how to search for preferred suppliers, the purchase goods and services, that is all available right now. We really encourage you to take a look at it and also give us some feedback. Because if there's any improvements we can do, let us know. Now the SupplyNet related changes, and this are going to be implemented April 1st. So that includes the important parts here are mandating 2 quotes. So that'll be done, like you won't be able, so for any purchases above $20,000, unless it's related to preferred supplier or it's a contract extension, you will either need multiple quotes or the sole source exception form that Phil had indicated. And that will be enforced as of April 1. So there's going to be some approval rules that will be going in. The second part that is going in related to SupplyNet is the routing to procurement will change from 10,000 to 20,000. So that's going to be effective April 1 as well. And in addition to that, the enforcement of the expense reports policy. So that is going to be enforced strictly as of April 1. So really, what's available now is the updated website, and anything that's related to kind of a firm policy change that goes into effect on April 1st.
So the major change on a SupplyNet PO or requisition is you have to give the justification and you have to choose your method, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and so that's a complete difference from what they're seeing today, correct?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
So there'll be a new field, and there's going to be a few other improvements that we're implementing April 1st related to SupplyNet, and that'll be shared with anybody who has SupplyNet access on that day.
Okay, thanks, Stefan. Thanks, Sherry, and thanks, Sharon, for going through some of these questions and answers. So we will start to wrap up here. So a lot of information was provided to people today, and obviously, I'm sure it could be overwhelming. We obviously plan to communicate the slide deck out, so we will send the slide deck out to everybody later this week. We are also going to publish it on our website along with the taped recording of this session. If there's enough requirement for it, we will do another session sometime middle to the end of April, so that people have had a little bit of time to dive into the new processes, reach out to us and determine what their future needs are. And we can obviously design a different session that may be more effective than maybe this one even, that will allow us to answer some of the questions that got presented to us today. But the information will be available shortly in the next couple of days. And you also have the contact information of the presenters today, as well as Sherry Hickman and Sharon Pirani, and they can provide assistance as well. So please reach out to us directly if you have a question that didn't get answered today, so that we can try and answer them as quickly as possible. Like Stefan said, we will put the questions into our Q&A and try and answer them there as well, so that as much information as possible gets out there. And if one other last thing I'd like to mention to everybody is that if you need us to come to your department, unit, or faculty and complete a presentation, we're more than willing to do that. Time committed, or time allowing us to do that. But we do have a little bit of time before April 1st here that we are presenting to different units on campus. And we're willing to do that for you as well, if we can fit it in before April 1st. And if we can't before April 1st, we'll definitely fit it in sometime in April as well. So I'd like to thank everybody today. Julie, do you have anything last to say?